Hello there. It is my very great privilege at this time to be able to present to you in a very few moments one of the outstanding motion pictures of this decade. A saga of such searing passion that it explodes from the screen like a slice of cake. This is the story they said was too uninteresting to be made. A stirring tale of heroism, of courage, and of selfless devotion in the service of the frozen vegetable trade. In this movie, you can see the primitive ritual of the weekly board meeting. You will thrill to the amazing language of the marketing man. You will watch with wonder the strange, unearthly mating ritual of the assistant head of motivational research. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time it gives me much pride, and it is with a great deal of sincerity and honor that I now present the Norman St. John Stevens and Peggy Mount in Billy Bremner's extraordinary motion picture, the great BirdsEye Pea relaunch of 1971.
On the 19th of February, 1893, the coastline of Scotland was whipped and savaged in one of the worst storms that the hardy, rugged folk of those climes had ever witnessed. The merciless sea and wind lashed the shore and its tiny dwellings for 9 unending days. However, our story takes place in Surrey in 1970, which is a bit of a relief as it's much quieter there. In the early months of 1970, in an obscure building in a rather unfashionable part of suburban Surrey, a small group of men met together to plan an operation which, if successful, would change the entire face of the edible pea market as we know it today. These desperate men dedicated frozen pea other than their own, the notorious and strangely named BirdsEye frozen peas, now gathered together at the BirdsEye chief's bidding to plan the utter annihilation of all their erstwhile competitors. The atmosphere was tense and expectant.
Bearing in mind always that other factors deleterious to the continual thriving of this great organization. And I emphasize this, and I cannot stress this too strong. The changes, small changes perhaps, major changes, probably. But, Mr. Chairman, I would suggest great changes that we shall see in the forthcoming year. The responsibility for which, and indeed... Shut up!
You're a great chief. Gentlemen, we come to the next item on the agenda, the sales target for BirdsEye Pea sales in 1971. I think you've all read the relevant information to help guide us in making this difficult decision. So I now suggest that we fix the sales target in the customary way by drawing it out of a hat. 5%. The sales target for 1971 is a 5% increase over 1970.
That simply means we have to hold our market share while the market itself increases.
Play Bristol Rovers. Can we collect our fees now?
This is a BirdsEye salesman who hasn't yet heard that he has to sell even more in 1971.
Well, that's it, gentlemen. We've done a good morning's work. Time for lunch, I think.
Wait.
Good. God, who are you?
I am
from the comparatively good fairy.
The comparatively good fairy.
Well, nobody's perfect.
Boom, boom, boom.
One in a rare. And I look after all BirdsEye salesmen everywhere and make sure their sales targets are not too high.
Well, it's not too high.
If you don't improve your product and presentation, it is.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
It bleeding well is. Now shut your gob unless you'd like to be turned into a frog.
Don't threaten me, young man. You barge in here pretending to be a fairy, telling us how to market peas. Well, you don't scare me, you fraud. You couldn't turn someone into a frog to save their life.
Oh, bucket. Now then, watch it.
Yes, comparatively good fairy, but we want to know why our target is too high unless we improve our product and presentation.
And so you shall.
Good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Why Our Target is Too High Unless We Improve Our Product and Presentation Show. On the show tonight, Mrs. A.J. Hare, wife of the Oxford Professor of Logic and Metaphysics.
Good evening.
Mrs. Anthony Barber, wife of the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Good evening.
And Mrs. Kent Walton, wife of the Professor of Marketing Studies at the London School of Economics.
Good evening.
None of these ladies are such experts as their husbands, but they make much better television. Is our target too high? Mrs. Hare.
Well, of course, first we must see how the frozen pea market has constantly grown, year by year. Here you can see how the total market is split between frozen and all other types of presentation. Canned, dried, fresh, surprise, and so on. You can see how each year the frozen sector steadily erodes the rest. Today, frozen peas account for almost half the total pea sales in this country. An excellent growth pattern. Mrs. Barber?
And if you look at the consumer research, you'll find that half the pea buyers in the country buy at least one packet of peas a fortnight. Another third buy once a month. And when you realise that that level of purchasing is more than double the same figure that applied 5 years ago, you'll really realise why our BirdsEye salesmen have been so successful. But what tremendous growth potential exists here, too. And in the next 5 years, those people currently buying a packet of peas a fortnight might be buying once a week.
Furthermore, the latest research shows 7 out of 10 housewives who buy frozen peas buy BirdsEye. So, as the market grows, and as our share of the market grows, so of course does our total pea business grow.
Ah, yes. But in that case, why does the comparatively good fairy say that our sales target was too high? Mrs. Kent Walton.
She doesn't say it's necessarily too high. What she does say is that when you are as successful as BirdsEye, and when you already hold a 70% market share, and when housewives see you as being the best brand on the market, well, it's very difficult to increase sales dramatically with an unchanged product. In other words, it's much easier to improve on a mediocre market performance than on an excellent one. And BirdsEye's performance has been excellent.
So, how can BirdsEye increase their sales in 1971?
By actually improving the product and its promotion still further.
As indeed the comparatively good fairy suggested earlier.
Exactly.
I see. Thank you so much.